you can put that slide on. We would like to recognize, we conduct every year the essay competition among the university students. And this year it was the 7th essay competition. The first winner is from Uganda, Golda Desire Abesiga, who had also an award of a monitor award that I don't want to mention here immediately. The second winner, we have two. One again from Uganda, Stephen Marvin Subuga, and one from Zambia, Frederick Chama. We also recognize you. And the third winner, who is from Malawi, Cherry Niwaruta. We congratulate you, and you will receive your award through the National Bureau of Standards from your countries. And we would like to apologize that this year we couldn't hold ARSO General Assembly, where officially we could have invited you and present you to the ARSO family and the standardization family. Thank you for your participation, and congratulations once again. Let's move to the first presentation.
Dear Secretary General.
Yes, Joel.
Is it still in the program that I would give opportunity to the winner to say 1 or 2 words for 1 or 2 minutes?
Joel, we will reach there. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The first presentation will be given by Ruben Gisore, who is the technical director for ARSO. When you look at the whole webinar today, we'll be discussing the standard in education. What do? We have experience from different continents. We have Africa, our members, ARSO members, who will discuss on issues of standard within their country and their area or their professional. We will also have experience from Asia, where we have South Korea. We'll have the Europe side. We have UNEC expert. We'll have also the America, North America, USA, who will also give us an experience to what is being done, the initiative that we have. The topic for Ruben Gisore is why standard matters for Africa economic development, the need to mainstream standards education in Africa, national education systems for effective standard professionals. Ruben Gisore, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General. I will go directly to my presentation. And as you indicated, the issue here is about mainstreaming the education about standards in Africa's national education systems for effective standards professionals. Now, one of the challenges that you'll find in many of the African countries is that we have a shortage of experts in standardization, and therefore there is need for this education about standards to be mainstreamed into the education system. Generally, as you know, a standard is defined as a document that provides requirements, specifications, or guidelines or characteristics that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, products, processes, and services are fit for their purpose and for the achievement of optimum degree in any given context. Now that applies to quite a wide cross-section of areas, whether it's in the economy, as you can see, standards are applied in all facets of life. That's in the technical areas like engineering, architecture, in agriculture, in industrialization, and all those things. They're also used in social settings like the law, in health, governance, social relations, social responsibility, and all these. So if you look at the way societies are organized, you find that there are standards that are used in the society. In the economic system, this is where we have trading systems, services, goods, processes of manufacturing, so that standards are applied in that area. In politics, standards are applied in elections, party organizations, and all those issues of ensuring that the political system is streamlined. So that's why you find there are codes of conduct, codes of ethics, and all that. So those are standards. In religion, we have belief systems, which are very strict standards. If you also look at standards that are attached to food, like halal, kosher, and other systems. In the environment, we have the certification, sustainability, protection, waste disposal, and all that. So if you look at the whole facet of life, you find that we have standards applying all around. In many cases, these standards apply without mostly us noticing, but when they are not complied with, you notice that there's disorder. And that's why you find people talking about indiscipline, people talking about chaos, people talking about inefficiency in service delivery and all that. That is when the standards are violated. So the aims of standardization in many cases will be to promote the overall economy in production and exchange of goods and services. So when an economy is well organized, then you find that the production of goods and exchange of goods and services is efficient, is satisfactory, is affordable, and all that. So that a country's economy runs efficiently and the people prosper. The standards foster better utilization of resources and resource efficiency is one of the areas that we are suffering in the continent. You find that resources are not utilized properly. And then we have issues of variety control and fitness for purpose, issues of safety, health, and protection of human life. So that we have challenges when the standards are not complied with. I will not go through all the list. The presentation will be available for referencing that. But suffice to say that when we have good standards, then issues of technological development will emerge and make people make strides in development. When we talk about education, about standardization, this is defined as as education about technical standards, their development process, their application, and their impacts. Now, this is very important so that we understand the theme of the webinar is about education, about standardization, and therefore, why is it important? Education, when you look at it, is a social infrastructure which enables citizens to prepare for intellectual and professional life in a society. And therefore, students in schools or universities ought to be educated about the fundamentals and implications of standards and conformity assessment processes to prepare them for their careers in government, in business, standards, conformity assessment, related organizations, or in research. So as we said, the standards apply across the whole range of life, and therefore we need students to start learning this in schools. So the majority, if you look at the way we are organized in most of African countries, is that the majority of graduates from universities or schools don't have an understanding of standards and conformity assessment. Rarely do they even know why it is important. And therefore, you find that even innovation, even research projects that they do are not attached to specific standards. So that makes it very difficult for them to come up with products or innovations or designs that can break the barriers into technological advancement and manufacturing. In most cases, you find that the older guys who are trained as engineers, they pass on information which is informal. They have no training in standards, and therefore they are passing the information orally as handed over to them from their seniors. And you find that in the process, they are using either outdated standards, as you can witness in the building sector, which normally has very catastrophic failures. So they utilize this kind of knowledge without understanding what kind of standards apply in the modern sense. And therefore you find that we have failures that cost lives and property. Furthermore, the role of standards play an important part in life, and we have that potential to control the future of industries at the global scale. Now, if we don't get education about standards, you find that then we are producing people who are not able to fit into the international systems. And in that respect, you'll find that most of the African countries would be importing labor that they should, in the first place, prepare and develop themselves. So to break this cycle, then we need education about standards to be in universities or in schools, and the benefits are enormous. And we propose that this be done in an organized way, not in a chaotic way that you find that some countries are trying this and that. It needs to be done in an organized manner. Why it is important at the continental level, you find that the continent needs to participate effectively in global trade, where over 80% of trade is actually controlled by standards. Standards influence everything that we do, and standards control markets. When you hear of goods entering markets, it is about compliance with standards. When you hear products given a certain level of understanding or demand, it's about them being recognized to actually being of good standards. So increased reference to standards as a regulatory instrument is also important by political actors, economists, and industrialists, which improves the access of goods into markets across the whole world. So for Africa, we need a program that could effectively make the continent participate in international trade and control markets. We more or less do not have, as Africa, we do not have control of markets, even when it's our goods that we produce, even if it is our minerals, we rarely have that control of what are we putting to the market. If we don't have standards, it's impossible for us to control the market, and therefore we simply have to sit back and say, we are waiting for the buyers to give us the standards. We can be proactive. We can have our own standards. We can produce to the best standards, and we can dictate to the market what we want, what price they pay for it. So our approach is to advocate for both academic education as well as the professional training in the field of standardization. And we seek to establish a network, an academic network in the field of standardization, in which standardization education issues are addressed through public knowledge on matters of standardization by means of training, awareness raising, and even when it comes to giving public lectures on the same. So this webinar is part of that, which we are trying to utilize to address the issues of standards. We need to improve awareness and potential links with research projects, so that when we have research projects being done, even at the university level, at research institutions, they comply with standards. In fact, one of the current proposals we have is to do a standard on research management in the continent, so that that research is done in such a way that is credible and supports the development of the continent. When you look at the international system, where do standards come from? These are the countries that give us most standards. So most of Africa, unfortunately, doesn't seem to be giving many standards as such. So we receive more of the standards than we produce ourselves. So we need to improve this situation, and we can do this by having education about standards in our systems. Now, at the African level, what we have done, we have a curriculum that we've developed. And in this curriculum, it starts at the master's level, and it is called Masters in Applied Science in Quality Infrastructure. And it has components. We have common units, which you can see, so that they give you the background information as any course that is designed at this level does. So concepts in standardization, conformity assessment, standards, trade and regional integration. These are the units that you will see in our course. Then when you are specializing in standards development, these are the additional courses that will give you to go into the area of standards development. So we have standards development and management, standards and sustainable development, standards in value chains, standardization in the global arena, and then ethical and societal protection standardization. So those are aspects that you can recall from the areas or the phases of standardization application. When we look at the other systems, we have the management systems and auditing. So this is another specialization that someone can have, where you look at the quality management systems, environmental management systems, or these management systems that are emerging and those that are existing. So we're looking at having them give us people who specialize in those aspects. Then we are also looking at conformity assessment, which is very important in ensuring that you have a complete quality infrastructure. And this goes to product certification, inspection and market surveillance, and all the way to industrial quality assurance extension. This is the last being an assistance to the industrial development and production so that goods from our industries comply with requisite standards. So what does one get? In practical terms, when you are moving to ensuring that you get the practical skills, people will be attached to areas of production where they can get exposure and they write reports from that attachment. It's not simply participating, observing, and not writing. So students are supposed to come up with practical solutions to a specific problem that they will encounter during this attachment, and then they can give us reports or give reports to the universities that are carrying out this kind of education. And then we have the research in the final stage is really to narrow down on a practical issue and give us a very good standard on that solution that they are looking at giving to the community or society. So this is as any that will be done, but this is very specialized in ensuring that it's in an area that is identified. And then finally, those who are qualified, they will get, of course, their degrees. And obviously, they will come up with a problem-solving dissertation, and not simply a publication that does not apply or that cannot be used. This could be a document that a standard that can be used in a specific field of production. Thank you very much, and we wish to look forward to getting views from the participants of the webinar. Thank you. I stop there.
Thank you, Ruben. I will come back to you on probably later on when we look at the participant questions. And what is the major challenge do you see in the mainstreaming education of standard in tertiary schools? Because as you were talking about the curriculum that developed under ARSO, why it's not moving as faster as it should be?
I think the main challenges up to now is people understanding the role of standards in the economy, in the entire spectrum of the economy, and therefore ensuring that the education is introduced as early as possible. Basically, right from kindergarten, this type of education can be introduced, as we've seen in other countries, and therefore, if people understood this clearly, then it would be embedded into our education systems. So if I would say that perhaps what is missing mostly is getting this kind of knowledge to those who design the curricula of most of our schools or at all levels. And therefore, once this is done, perhaps, then it will be easy for them to understand why it is important to get the education about standards embedded into the curricula so that it helps later on for our easy adjustment, easy adoption in our production systems at all levels so that the continent benefits at the optimum level. So I would say it's really lack of awareness and understanding with the policymakers and curriculum developers.
Thank you very much, Ruben. I am aware that there are some universities that are taking up the curriculum that developed within ARSO. Thank you. Maybe we'll get more questions on this. Our next speaker is Shin from South Korea, who is a researcher in CATS, in the Korean Agency and Technology and Standards. We have been working together on our collaboration between ARSO and CATS, and I am very much aware on what is going on, but South Africa is one of the country that has moved very well in this standard and education. His presentation will focus on why, how, and what, and when. An overview of standardization education program in South Korea. Listen, learn for Africa. Shin, the platform is yours.
Thank you very much.
We are uploading your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Young-Chul Shin from Korea. I've been working in International Standards Cooperation Division of Korean Agency for Technology and Standards. And I'm in charge of bilateral meetings and regional standards activities such as ARSO. First of all, it is a great honor to be invited in this webinar. I hope we could share good practice in standardization field, and our experience would be helpful for all people in here. I would like to introduce the activities in standardization sector of Korean Agency for Technology and Standards first. Korean Agency for Technology and Standards has been carrying out various activities related on standardization, such as conformity assessment, certification, accreditation, and technical regulations. However, today, what we are talking about is the experience of standardization education. So I would like to very briefly talk about the activities for standardization of Korean Agency for Technology and Standards. Korea has approached the activities for standardization in 3 targets. First, establishing a national standards management system with government ministries. Secondly, improving the standard and certification system to make business easier. At last, reinforcement of the world-leading international standard support systems. Next, please. Next slide, please. Hello? Hello? Could you hear me?
Shin.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we lost you like 1 minute, but we can hear you now.
Is it okay?
It's cutting. It's cutting. I can't hear you.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry about this condition. So can I keep going from the slide 3? You're moved.
Keep going.
Not this one.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, slide 3, please. Not this one, before this one. Not the next, before. And before, please. Oh, thank you very much. That's the slide. Okay. And for the standardization education, I would like to set the 3 targets. Regulators, it must be a public officer like me, and specialists for standardization, and stakeholders. In case of the stakeholders, the range would be so wide. But for today's presentation, I would like to focus on the students from elementary school to university. And I put the perspectives, challenges, and opportunities for them. For the perspectives, I thought the final objectives of standardization educations, securing national safety and facilitating international trade would be the key objectives for the education. For the specialist, securing standard development quality will be the target. And for the stakeholders, increasing the awareness and utilization of standardization will be important. However, there are also critical challenges for the education. The regulators have been working in closed environment. Simply, the working condition is a rigidity, and it is very difficult to change laws, orders, and any regulations. Besides that, the discrepancy in international and national standards is always exist, and it is also difficult to harmonize. In case of specialists, we are looking for young generations. The age of specialists is getting old, and the young generation does not have interest in standardization like them. Stakeholder, of course, enterprise have lots of interest in standardization. However, the others, nobody doesn't care of it. And some people, no, most of people are confusing the standards, regulation, and sometimes patents as well. However, we also have opportunities. Korean Agency for Technology and Standards reviewed all the laws and orders in Korea for 3 years and find the disharmony of standards and technical regulations. We inform the result and suggest to make it be harmonized as many as possible. Moreover, several ministries which are related on specific fields of standards and technical regulations are developing and managing the national standards and international standards. It was really helpful to promote standardization and harmonize with international standardizations. As the time limit, I will skip the opportunity for specialists and stakeholders. Please refer to the presentation slide, please. Can I move the next one, please? Thank you. Here is the standardization education program for regulators. They are the key target group for the education, and they could implement critical roles for promoting international trade, securing safety, and improving technical regulations. I'll put proportion of the program. The light gray one is a basic curriculum, and the dark gray one is a practical curriculum for them. We spend most of time for teaching development procedures for international and national standards in the basic course. For the practical course, we concentrate on teaching the international activities, such as cooperating with other organizations, international standardization activities, and directives of ISO and IC. Next slide, please. Thank you. For the specialist, we target the executives of technical committees and subcommittees. About 200 executives, such as chair, secretary, convener, are in activity in ISO and IC. And we concentrate on sharing the various information and good practice for them. The most important item for this education is project management. Besides that, operating and participating international standardization meetings are very popular. This program holds twice a year, and it held in virtual meeting this year because of the importance. We all are in the COVID-19 circumstance, but we never stop these education programs, of course. The standardization education for regulator will also held twice this year, and it was a face-to-face meeting. Next one, please. Thank you. Lastly, there are standardization education for stakeholders as well. For enterprises, we don't have any specific program for them. The fields for enterprises is so wide, and it is really difficult to make one program for all. So we provide professional consulting for them through the standardization experts when we have any difficulties in use of standards. However, we keep providing a standardization education for child, and it is called Standards Olympiad. The main target is secondary school students. However, in today's presentation, I would like to share the specific targets of standardization education for the students. For the primary school students, we're concentrating on raising awareness of standardization among teenagers. And secondary school students will get the insight to recognizing outstanding outcomes by using standards. We set the programs to learn standardization in graduate schools, and we expect that they could learn theoretical applications. Based on this effort, we are expecting to organize the higher level standardization education programs and make a positive outputs like chairs, secretaries, and conveners. Next one, please. Thank you. It was quite a long presentation, but the key point is we have to do our best to make, organize, maintain the standardization educations, though it must be a tough job. Besides that, international cooperation like this webinar should be stronger. It is really helpful sharing our good practices in standardization field, and based on that, this kind of activities, we could expand the field of standardization cooperation. I'm so glad to join this important webinar and thank for excellent effort of ARSO. I hope we could meet in Africa when this COVID-19 ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Chin. Yeah, welcome to Africa. It will end definitely. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. Why? Okay. Looking at the one slide before the last, why do you think standard in primary and secondary school education are very important?
Because, what should I say? That even though when we don't find the importance of the standardization, they just learn when they don't have they doesn't have any background educations about the standardization. They just feel the importance of standardization like a USB charger or something like that, and based on this experience, they will think about the importance of developing the standardization. So they want to join the activities. So, and then when they become the high school students, they will make their dream more bigger, and when they will have the more chance to work as a specialist for the standardization. So we think that is an important job.
Oh, thank you very much. It's helped them really love the standard professionals in a way. Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Shin. We will come back to you in looking at the question from our attendees and participants. Our next speaker is Travis. Travis is working as a manager of technical committees operation at the ASTM. Will be talking to us on ASTM academic outreach and emerging professionals perspective from a young standard professional turned standard education ambassador. When you look at it, connect to the presentation from Shin, who was telling us, let's start from early age, from primary, from secondary, then we see how we even have professionals who love the standard as a professional career. Travis, you are very much welcome. The platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning from the United States. It is currently cold and rainy here in Pennsylvania, so happy to join you guys.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, we are uploading your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So will you cue them up for me? All right, great. So real quick, just to give you a little bit more of an introduction of myself. So again, this is Travis Murdoch with ASTM International. I joined the organization back in 2016, but as it said in my bio, I was working with another standards developer for 6 years prior to that. So I've got a little over a decade of standards development experience. And one of the things that I've found over my years is this was my first kind of professional career out of university. So I thought along my way, I was getting more involved in some of the standards education pieces as part of my career. And I was at the time a young professional and emerging professional within this area. So I thought, you know what, why not start to use some of the lessons that I've learned the things that I've experienced, being someone that doesn't know what questions to ask, or, you know, where standards, like what the concept of standards to begin with, I had no clue what it was before I started. I decided to start to use some of my experiences and help others getting out in the industry, and even prior to that, to learn a little bit more about standards. So I figure as long as someone knows even 1% more than I did when I graduated, I've done a pretty good job. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're doing here at ASTM in terms of academic outreach, and also our emerging professionals program, which goes the next step into that. So if we could go to the next slide. So real quick overview just on ASTM International. For those of you that aren't aware of us, we are an international standards developer, kind of on par with ISO or IEC or some of the others that have been mentioned already that you might be familiar with. However, unlike in Africa or elsewhere outside of the US, we are a non-government organization. So we're kind of an NGO, if you will, but we don't work for the government. We work with the government, but we're more of a private organization that helps industry develop their own standards. And we've been around since the late 1800s. So I like to think that we know what we're doing a little bit, but we've been quite successful ever since, just based on those numbers. But you can jump to the next slide. So in terms of standards education, we have kind of our main goal mostly, some of our main goals are to familiarize those that are in academia, students and professors as well. We want to make sure that they're aware of the existence and the importance of standards. But also, one of the things that I enforce when I'm talking with them is that they're also living documents. We need them to not only be aware of them, but also be conscious of them in the future, knowing that if there is anything wrong with them, it's up to them as the next generation of the workforce to participate and help them evolve. You know, we want to make sure that folks that are using standards for everyday products, if they see something off with them, they know that they can join ASTM or join other organizations and start to contribute and influence the content that goes into those, and hopefully make them better throughout over the course of time. It also, we're mostly focused on the college level, the university level students. Mostly those that are going for, we get a lot of interest for those that are going for professional degrees, be it a master's or a PhD or something like that, because they're usually pretty well involved already at the academic level within the industries that they're interested in working in. But a lot of what we do is mostly trying to prepare them for when they do get out and graduate and join the workforce. They're already familiar with, you know, our standards and standards elsewhere. They recognize the acronyms and the designations, and they know the light bulb goes off and they realize, hey, this is a standard. I'm understand how these are built and how these work. One of the stories that I tell some of the students that I talk to too is when they're job searching online, or if they're looking, if they just type in ASTM, they're going to have a lot easier time finding jobs than I did, because I was actually trying to work for ASTM. And when I did searches to find positions, I kept finding companies that were using ASTM standards and looking for people familiar with them. So there's a lot out there, and it's very important that they know that. That's going to give them that edge above the competitors that they're going up against when looking for jobs. The other important thing to us too is when our existing membership base of our committees, the ones that are, you know, they've worked their way up over the course of their careers to develop the standards. They've moved on to officer roles to become technical contacts, subcommittee and main committee officers, and leaders within the committees. We want to make sure that their work isn't in vain. So we want to try to help them pass on their legacy of work within the committee onto that next generation. So that succession planning is very important for our members. And that's where a lot of their interest comes from on the membership side. We also found too that it's great to go after and target students, but one of the gatekeepers, if you will, is the professors as well. So we've created a lot of resources for them to use in order to incorporate standards education into the classroom, so that they can, lack of a better phrase, do the job for us a little bit in terms of teaching the students. And then also we want to work with them to understand what they need so let's see what resources we can start to provide, be it either products that we can offer to the universities or different things that we can provide for them, be it membership within our organization or different resources that they can use to help them along the way. And then lastly, the other thing that we've been finding much more useful too is looking at all the R&D work that's going on at the university level. So all of that research that they're doing, the development of new products and new systems, new services, and so on, that are not only developed using our standards, but could potentially influence them later on. So we're seeing a lot more and more, and I'll get into some of the offerings that we provide for our students in particular, but we're seeing more of those get involved in the sense of not only incorporating our standards, but also looking to provide solutions that will then go into updating them later on down the road. So we're seeing that kind of, that legacy and that succession planning that we're trying to provide, we're seeing that happen much more sooner in the process, which has been great. But some of the issues, I'll jump over to the challenges here that, and this isn't the full list, but there is a lot of things that are difficult, especially within the world of ASTM that we are faced with. But first and foremost is when we go onto campus, and I saw some of the chat questions talk about this, but where do we even start when we go to a university, knowing that ASTM standards are used in just about every department and every college? They can find their way in just about anything you can think of. Not only on the engineering side for folks that are developing, they're working with materials, they're developing new products, they're doing all these different things, but we also find them in the business schools. We find them used in the law schools. We also see, I've worked with a couple of history departments that want to go back in time and look at the development or the history aspects related to standards. So ASTM standards and standards in general are almost kind of like ethics or accounting, or just they go into everything. In every organization you can think of. They're a very broad topic. And ASTM being very broad as well too, it kind of gives us a bit of a challenge of where do we even start. The other thing too is working with all the universities and the other partners that we have, we found that it's kind of difficult to not only teach standards, the concept of standards takes more than a day to teach some of these students how to do it. But then again, it's also tough to get justification for it to be developed as an entire course. It's great to see some of the ones that were mentioned on the slides today, but we've had some trouble with some of the universities that are looking for kind of some easy, lightweight fixes that they can do that won't cost a lot of time or money or resources. So it's difficult to come up with those, but there are solutions out there, but we're trying to find those balances and work with them and be as flexible as we can. And then also too, again, it's just making sure that I talked about the succession planning, where we're making sure that the members get involved. One of the disconnects that we have, it's a bit of a challenge that we're starting to work on for me has been, I don't have a technical background in the technical committees that I work with, or any of the committees that we work with for that matter. My expertise lies in the standards development process. So we rely heavily on our members to get involved and teach some of the students or work with us to educate the importance of standards specific to the field that they're in, so that they can talk to the technical aspects of the students and the faculty that we're working with. So it's making those connections between kind of allowing us to step back and connect the members with the students directly is one of the things that we've been focused on over the past year or so. And then that goes into that last point of also connecting them up and trying to form mentorships with the members and the students as they evolve. You can jump to the next slide. So in response to some of those challenges and some of those goals that we have, we've created, this is basically our core of our existing program. So we have our academic outreach is the one that I manage, while our emerging professionals program is managed by another staff manager like myself on our team, Kat Caperna. She's, I have her contact information if anyone's interested in that. However, we've kind of got it divvied up, but basically the academic outreach side is focused mostly on the university level. We do touch on some high school level if there's opportunities that come up, especially in our local area, but most of it's done at the university side. We offer free student membership to anyone that's currently enrolled in a program and is interested in learning more about ASTM and getting involved. We offer up just we put together an e-newsletter specific for student members that'll keep them informed of what's going on or things that might be specific to their interests. And then for the biggest one that we provide is mostly our awards. There's a couple of specific ones listed out here, but we also have ASTM provides society-wide awards that we offer up to our student members. But we also have some of our committees develop their own specific awards related to their groups and their fields that they're interested in, and target those a little bit more towards those groups. One of the ones that we had just announced and we're just finishing up our selection process for is our project grants, our $500 project grants that we offer every year. So we give those out to students that are looking to incorporate ASTM standards into their senior design projects or any kind of capstone design projects, anything that they're doing a little bit later on. We'll offer them some funding to provide so that they can be successful in their work, but also use and promote the use of ASTM standards within their project as well too. Another one that we are also going to be recruiting for is we participate in a collective program called the WISE program, which is Washington Internship for Students in Engineering. This is a really cool program because it marries the two of public policy and engineering in terms of education. So what they do is that marries the two, and it kind of introduces the engineers to the policy world. And I'll jump through these a little bit quicker as well too, but we also offer a $10,000 graduate scholarship, which we do annually. And then we provide additional resources to professors and librarians as well. And then lastly, whenever opportunities present themselves, we'll try to do presentations. We've been doing a lot of remote lectures this year in terms of based on the restrictions from the pandemic, but usually we try to do some simulations or on-site activities. And then the emerging professional side, we look at, this is open to new members of ASTM. So it's typically those that have graduated in their career. They're in that first 5 years of membership, and they're folks that are likely going to be taking on leadership roles. And we want to kind of shorten the learning curve for them to develop into their leadership roles much sooner and take on a little bit more. So we provide them with additional resources to get to the committee meetings and get involved. So it's a little bit more of a hand-holding opportunity for us and for the committee members to get involved, but it's a great way for us to identify those folks that have taken advantage of our academic resources, our member training tools, and are showing signs of being a good long-standing member in many, many years to come. So you can go to the next one. So I ran through it pretty quickly, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. That just gives you a little bit of a flavor of what we've been doing. But again, our contact information is on screen, so you're more than welcome to ask us any questions from here on out if we don't answer it today. But thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Thank you, Travis. I understand it's cold and you are just waking up. Actually, very well. Yeah. Just one quick question. What is the uptake of your program at the university level? And what is the strategy you use to have a big uptake of your program at university level?
Yeah, so we don't have any way of tracking it right now in terms of like the trends that we have. There's a few numbers that we'll use, but basically it's kind of a hybrid approach of we'll look to promote our programs to the universities that we have lists of going to. We'll do it through either our contacts that we already have through our sales team that they have subscriptions to, or we'll go through other groups as well too. To promote that. But one of the things that we found is we rely a lot more on our committees and our members. And we want to know what specific schools or programs are very beneficial to them that we could go and use. So for example, we have a committee on road and paving. And little did I know that Temple University in Philadelphia has a very prominent asphalt institute or education piece there. So it's finding those smaller niche groups and getting in touch with taking advantage of our existing membership and our existing network of professionals and finding out where they are and, you know, where do they go to school or what schools are they working with, and then build off of those partnerships.
Thank you very much. I think that is a very good strategy to look at on African continent. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sergey, who will be talking to us on our standards education, a global perspective, and a prototype for UN standardization education program and the curriculum. He's the coordinator of actual education at UNECE. Sergey, the platform is yours. Thank you. We are uploading your slides shortly.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, you can set up your camera very well. We can see you. Yes, now the platform is yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be together with ARSO and with your members and have opportunity to share with you what we are doing in the area of education. Next slide, please. Okay. First of all, I would like to say a few words about organization which I represent, UNECE. Why UNECE is here? UNECE is one of 5 regional commissions which are working under the umbrella of UN. Oh. Boom.
Hello, we lost you.
Hello,
Yeah, we lost you.
I can't see any screen. Is it same with you?
We can see, or probably you can switch off the camera to see if the connection can improve. Yeah.
Because it's now jumping. I can't see anything. I don't know even you're able to. The whole screen is black just now, so I don't know.
Let's give you the right to share this the presentation. Yeah. Yeah, you can share from your side.
No, but I still can't see anything. It's like jumping screen. Jumping screen. Nope.
Can you see now?
No.
I think the issue is your connection.
Maybe, I don't know.
Can you see other icons on the Zoom platform?
No, I can't see anything. I see just black jumping screen.
I think it's on the connection issue. While you sort out the connectivity, yeah, let's go to the next presenter. Then you see if you can be able to connect well. Is that okay, Sergey?
Okay.
Okay. Let's go to the next presentation while Serge is looking at the connectivity. Our presenter is Professor Shadi Nabil, who is also the chairperson of ARSO Technical Committee on Building and Civil Engineering. Nabil will be presenting to us the developing standards professionals, incorporating and implementing the standards education program in African university. He is an engineer. He is lucky that in engineering in many countries, the students have opportunity to interact with the standard. Shadi Nabil, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'll be covering the point of how to implement standard education's program in Africa. What are the challenges that we are facing, and what opportunities do we have? Next. So we are going to talk about the importance of standards education from the point of view how to reach people who are in universities or in schools. Also, we will be talking about the challenges facing the standards education, mostly in Africa, and what opportunities do we have and how to get in contact with universities and schools. Next. So I think my colleagues have covered the many points concerning the importance of the standards, but I'm going to talk about the importance of standards education. When talking about why do we need to educate people about standards, we need to let people know that standardization is a new norm, that everything we are working on or we have in our daily life is based on a standard. I remember when with ARSO, we visited the SEN in 2012. We had some flyers and brochures that SEN makes available publicly, even in bus stops and train stops. They have some flyers with ordinary daily scenes from our life, and they are putting bubbles telling everyone that if you are wearing, for example, a helmet for your motorcycle, this helmet follows the EN standard, which is number is like that. The road itself is following the EN standard number X. So they have flyers and publications for even not only for students or for universities. We are talking that we need to educate the whole country, the whole people, that standards are important. So this is the first point. We need to reach people in their daily life to let them know that standards are very important. The second thing, that we need to teach people or let them learn that standards is a bridge between markets and manufacturing. If you need a product and you are going to buy it from the market, you must have a standard for this product so that you can have the quality and the requirements you want from this product. So they must know that the standards is this bridge between the market and the manufacturers. Also, when talking especially about university and preparing scientists and researchers, they must know that standards is a way for innovation acceleration. That standards help in innovations and help developing new ideas and technologies. And also we have to make people know that the importance of harmonizing the standards and having a same standard for the same product, so that every product is produced based on it, and the importance of this for competitiveness, for safety and health, for global market access, and for quality. For example, the most common example that we have products from China. You can have the same product with the same outlook, but at the end, the inside of the product, it differs based on the standard for that is produced on. Some countries doesn't have standards for this product, so China developed a product that doesn't meet a standard, which is low cost, but at the same time it's low quality. So if we can educate people the importance of standards in these points, we can start good knowledge about the importance of standards. Next. So what are the challenges that we face in educating standards for people? Maybe I have an experience with teaching the last year in engineering graduates. So one of the examples that I face always, that in most of the time, they are dealing with outdated standards. Sometimes the students don't know the difference between a standard, a code of practice, and a guideline. Why do we have this? Because they were not taught what is the difference between standards, what is the meaning of a standard. They didn't know it from the beginning. So they reach the last year of engineering, and at the end, they know there is a standard, for example, for aggregates or for cement, but they don't know what is the difference between this standard and the code of practice for construction, for example. And even if they have the knowledge, they are being taught with outdated standards. For example, I've been visiting teacher in one of the universities. They are taught about testing of cement with a standard, Egyptian standard, that is was superseded since 2005. We are talking about 15 years, and they are still in their university teaching this. So we need to have better standardization inclusion in the education system. Maybe I can refer to what my colleague from ASTM said, how to have an academic outreach through having free memberships for students, having resources for the universities itself, having professor toolkits, so that they are always updated with new standards available in the country and in the region. I remember I had about 10 years ago, I had a diploma through one of the UK universities online in project management. During it, at the beginning of just enrollment in the process, I had a username and password for a platform that UK have for all universities. This platform, as soon as I received my username and password, this username and password gave me access to ASTM, to the Senelec standards, to many platforms to have all what I need for research or for studying under my hand. Egypt has been working on something like that. We have now a platform for Egypt. It's called the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. Although it doesn't contain, till now, it doesn't contain the standard, the Egyptian standards or the Egyptian codes, but I know well, because I'm working with the team on it, that they will be included in this platform soon. So availing the standards and availing the codes for people and for students is very important for the education of standards. Also, talking about the continuous raising of awareness. As I said before, we need to have raising awareness not only for students and for pupil in schools, but also for employees, for CEOs, for workers, for everyone to know about the standards. This can be done through flyers or things like we have seen in the SAN. Also, one important thing is capacity building of education staff themselves. If I'm talking about a professor that his knowledge is about a standard that is outdated since 2005, he's going to transfer this to his students, and his students will be also outdated. So we need to have capacity building for the education staff. We need to let them know what are the standards, what is the standardization process, and surely if they know this well, they will transfer this to their students. Also, we have to select the target manufacturers of the standards education. We have to have an action plan who to target on stages. For example, we can start with the universities, then we can go down to the secondary schools and primary schools and so on. So we have to have a target so that we can transfer the knowledge and the education. Also, the examples that we have from the European Union, they have a somehow unified standardization education umbrella. They have an agreement for all the countries to work on. Next. So what are the opportunities do we have? we can have we can work on strengthening the engagement of the ecosystem stakeholders. So we can work on engaging the universities, the schools, the ministries for education with the NSBs and with, for example, ARSO on putting an action plan for whole Africa, so that this can be done through the NSBs, and ARSO is the main umbrella for it. Also, we can have filling the gaps between supplying and demand by educating or headhunting for people who can work with standardization through universities, through the students themselves. So we can develop new people who can work with the standardization process. Also, we can have best practice distribution and knowledge transfer diffusion throughout transferring the knowledge between old members and new members. And at the end is the removal of barriers of trade, increasing investors' confidence throughout. If any investors see what a country or what Africa is doing to have unified standards and to have education for standards, surely they will be confident about the African market and to enter the market. Thank you all.
Thank you, Shadi. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, one quick question. When you mentioned that in a university, you might even find the outdated standard being used in engineering department, like the example you said in 15 years ago, standard that has been replaced. What can we do to harmonize when curriculum or the standard are being reviewed? How do you harmonize mainly in engineering, where we know you really use a standard a lot? How do we harmonize the curriculum development and the standard development procedure? What should we do?
Actually, the example of engineering is the easiest example, because you have always a code of practice that is being used for the construction or for whatever in the engineering field. So it's by the force of law, all people use this code of practice, and this pushes everyone to use the latest standards already, because the code of practice is referencing always the latest standards. But if we are talking about the teaching process in universities in general, we must have access for professors and for students to the standards, to the latest standards, so they always use the latest standards. Anyone has a standard on his computer, he will always reference to it. He will not check if there is a new one unless he is obliged through something, or if he has a free access or somehow an access to the newest one. So what I think that we have to have, firstly, a broad line for the curriculums in universities, how to include the standards, the latest standards, and how to teach the latest standards. And also we must have an access for students and for professors to the latest standards. This will help a lot in changing this problem.
Thank you very much, Professor Shadi. Yeah, we look forward to some questions. You can even check on the chat. There are some questions that you can be responding to. I am moving to another presentation from Joel Peter, who is the Principal Standard Officer in the UNBS, the Bureau of Standard for Uganda National Bureau of Standard. He's very much involved in the standard work at East Africa Community, ARSO level, and ISO level. He will be presenting to us the public safety need as a driver for the development of standards for preparedness and the response to mitigating the pandemic with an example for ARSO essay competition. Joel, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. I think I could actually share to guide my speech better, if you don't mind.
Yeah, share, it's okay.
Yes, I hope you are able to see.
Yes, yes, please. You can move on.
Thank you very much, Secretary General and colleagues who have just shared their experiences in the standards in education. We appreciate the privilege to be able to share with you our experiences. And we want to thank the panelists. We want to thank the ARSO members who are joining, and of course, all the participants who have joined in this webinar today. In bringing the aspect of standardization in education, we want to share with you the example of ARSO as a computation, what it's doing in promoting and integrating standardization in the academic programs. And my name is Joel Peter Oriang, as the Secretary General introduced, from Uganda National Bureau of Standards in Uganda. I would say that except for the information that we've received from the presenters, given opportunity, you would actually say that standardization is a mystery in the world of academics, noting that the issue of standardization, normally we get to meet in the field, and to justify that, you could actually ask yourself some few questions. Which university would you go if you wanted to study standardization? And have there been colleges that have been graduating professionals in standardization? Would you have vacancies easily filled if you were looking for graduates of standardization? And do policymakers appreciate the importance, the important place of standards in the policy documents? If you think through this question critically and you have a challenge to do one of them, you might actually realize that standardization is still a mystery in the field of education, in the world of academics, and we really, really appreciate what we are talking about now through this webinar, and what we are sharing with the other panelists from all over the world, what they are doing. I think the topic and the expertise that is picked for this webinar is really, really suitable. So you will definitely realize that nobody has been studying standardization in school, and those who actually get to understand or go through get the knowledge have got opportunity to work either with the NSB or to work with one of the regional or international standardization bodies, and then they build experience with on the job. And so we could actually also say, how big is the problem, okay, that we do not have, or we are probably in the introductory stages of having standards introduced in academics, in schools, in the universities. I heard one of the presenter talk about the levels of the primary schools. That would be very, 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 very important, very interesting, and we would go a long way in sorting out that challenge. So definitely the lack of standardization in the academic field has created a number of challenges to standardizers. You go out there to recruit a standardizer, you will know that you will get somebody of zero knowledge from standardization, especially in the field, in the perspective of Africa. You are hardly going to find anybody with some basic knowledge in standardization, and so you are faced with the challenges of initial training. Sometimes we are in organizations where other departments, the administrations think they could advertise and get somebody of a standard, senior standard officer and so on and so forth. and then is bringing knowledge already into the field. Far from it. I believe we have a challenge in that. And of course, challenges in implementing standards. We have always heard from the public, they're saying that standards are too technical. As a bureau or as international standard organizations, you are always faced with the challenge of the public asking for you to interpret the standard or to simplify or to do something like that. And that comes as a result of course, standardization being reaching people at a very late stage in the process of application. Somebody needed to have got some basic knowledge in standardization. And of course, many having been recruited from zero knowledge of standardizations, they take long, many years of training and learning on job, but then they will still struggle upholding the key ingredients of standardization. You will realize that it would be very, very helpful for somebody who has joined in and say, for example, with the knowledge that our panelists were sharing with us. If somebody did something on a standardization, standard development, you expect they know some basic principles of standardizations. And starting from that kind of background, that very important ingredient of standardization, you would have a better or an easy training process for standards. And then the other colleague said that types of standards, these are things to be introduced at academic level. And then you would have something to bank on when you recruit. Aspect of how you would appreciate the quality infrastructure, lack of appreciation, okay? Their interrelationships, their interdependency, and the need for specific institutions and policy support for all these that supports the process and the application of standard. If you do not have that appreciation, if the importance is not to the public or even to the policymakers, we are still far from achieving the requirement of standardization. And so the earlier we start this, definitely would be the better. Why ARSO essay is playing a big role? I said my speech, my presentations is ideally to bring you experiences from the ARSO essay competitions, what ARSO essay is doing in trying to bridge this gap. I just looked at a few things. One of them is the when you just focus on some of the topics that are normally shared or our students are asked to write about on these essay competitions, you realize topics like the role of standardization in facilitating the rights of women. You will realize topics like the role of standardization in winning the fight against corruption or sustainable Africans transformation. Topics like addressing refugees, socioeconomic problems, and creating durable solutions to forced displacement in Africa. Topics like the role of quality infrastructure and standardization in facilitating trade and sustainable development, to mention a few of those topics that over the years our students have been given opportunity to write about. You will realize that this really brings the information and the knowledge of how standards can actually be an answer to social and economic challenges in the public, of our today, issues of the sustainable development goal. How do we meet it, and what is the role of standards? All these are intertwined in these topics when you talk about the role of standardization in fighting corruptions and sustainable transformation. We're talking about the fulfillment of SDGs. And if students are able to get the role, what can standard do in answering the challenge in our today? Tomorrow you might write about lack of jobs in the youth. I mean, these are the things that will affect them, affect the students who are coming out from the university. And then what is the role of standard? What can standard do in answering, in contributing to issues that affects the youth, affects our outcoming college graduates? I believe choice of these topics, and it has always been very spot on by ARSO, and I would like to congratulate them for that, that it speaks to the fact that if we focus or if we put a little interest on standards and relate it to the challenges of the day, we find that standards actually has a very big role in answering these questions. And so the earlier we involve our graduates to the role of standards would definitely go a long way in the process. Now, as we continue to look at the contribution of ARSO essay, you realize that in standard development and conformity assessment are actually the two pillars of standardization. And if this starts to be introduced at, say, the university level, it definitely would be quite a value addition in the lives of our students, in the knowledge of our students, and how the relationships are, the standards and conformity assessment, and what you need to put in place. Actually, I think I should go to the next slide to bring that point, to drive that point home. Now you look at the 5 elements of quality infrastructure, and I talked about the need to start introducing this quality infrastructure right from our high schools and colleges. You think about the standards.
Joel, please wrap up. Yeah, please wrap up.
And then you are talking about the definitions of properties, dimensions, and tolerances. You think about the metrology. You're talking about the reliability in measurements. You think about the testing, and then you're talking about the analysis and the properties of the ingredients and characteristics and so on and so forth, and certifications, where you get to see how actually the product are conforming to what is defined in the standard. And one thing always forgotten is accreditation, that gives in that attestation that the process and the procedures are adhered to. And of course, one needs the support of the policy framework. And if this knowledge gets to the people that needs it in good time, our politicians who makes the laws and so on and so forth, they would definitely appreciate that there is need to build quality infrastructure in a country to be able to progress and to facilitate trade effectively. So our experience in ARSO essay, I would just like to share with you that it is important that we get good way of disseminating the information to the universities. And we need to be sensitive that the group we are talking about is the youth. And then therefore we choose the best platform. Things like 2-3 minutes video on the social media, which they are very used to, would of course go a long way to do that. And of course, issues like having university outreach program. Some of these are the things we are implementing as Uganda. Tailored materials on ASIC topics and other standardization related materials in digital form, procure, and so on and so forth. Those would definitely be interesting for them to look out for and be able to get some information, standardization about relationships with the universities, lecturers, students, administrations, offering opportunity for students to participate in technical committees. And then they can learn and they definitely will get to know what we do in the world of standardization, offering already attachments, and we'll talk about that, and training opportunities to the students, and coming up with something like youth professional programs. Recently, I was contacted by ARSO to give my opinion on what I think the youth development program should look like in the standardizations. And so this slide here, where they are designing, I believe they are designing something like attracting youth professionals in international standardization process. And this was a brief interview that I had to share my experience with them. And so we are talking the right thing at the right time. And so the rest of the world is thinking about how do they bring the youth. And just wind up, Secretary General, I would like to point out a few areas that I would think is a good recommendations for us to take on as we progress with the ARSO essay competitions. I would like to note that ARSO members should, there's need to engage better, as I said, with the university in disseminating the informations, but also the ARSO Central Secretary could also consider certificates of recognition to all the continental level candidates. You realize that the Central Secretary is awarding about 3 certificates, the first to the third winners. If all the 5 that are submitted to continental level actually get a certificate of recognition, that would be motivating, and they would motivate their friends. You could also think about keeping the data of those who participate in this process, and that could also be brought to the national level as well, at the NSB level, to keep that data. The time for annual essay opening registrations could also be brought forward. Normally it's around, I think, September, October, and no sooner students are breaking off for going for Christmas and you've not got enough time to actually disseminate. When you come back, they need to submit. So if we could bring that time of opening of the essay, annual essay a bit earlier, that would give more time for dissemination. So lastly, when you think about the panelists, the judges that do carry out this assessment, we could think of bringing on board 1 or 2 slots probably of representations from the ARSO members to the panel. I believe from the report I saw there are 8-member panels, and we do not. I don't think there is representation from the member bodies. It could actually be through the recs. You give 1 or 2 slots to the recs, and you could rotate. And then they are able to attest to the credibility.
Well, if you can wrap up, please. Yeah, the time is not on our side. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. I think those are the areas that I would like to share, and I would like to say thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Joel. Actually, you answered my question. I was about to ask you which recommendation would you give to move forward the essay competition, and I see you have a clear recommendation to take forward. Thank you very much for the good presentation and the lesson learned from Uganda. We have our next presenter who had a challenge on connectivity. Sergey, you told me now you can be able to see the presentation. Dan, can you upload the presentation for Sergey? Sergey, the platform is yours. Serge, are you there? Serge. Serge. Sergey, are you there? Can you be able to connect now? Are you able to connect? You are muted. Yeah. Please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think now, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. If you can use 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, I won't be long just now. So I represent here United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, which is in Geneva, and it's one of 5 regional commissions which exist under UN umbrella. And all these commissions exist in different regions, including in Africa, in Addis Ababa. And all commissions are equal, but UNEC in a very specific role, because other commissions are dealing primarily with social issues, and UNEC is targeted on technical issues. And this slide provides some example of activities which we have on regulations, on standards, and on policy matters. and member states of UNEC account for 80% of global trade. So it means this, although the legal tools elaborated UNEC, they are of regional character, but de facto they have a global application. And that's why we're dealing also with education issues. Next slide, please. One of the permanent group of experts which are working on the UNEC is the Working Party 6, which is dealing with standardization policies. This group was established already in 1970, and it's been doing the different issues regarding, so all experts, all spectrum of issues relating to standards, from the regulations to market surveillance, metrology, etc. It's covered by this group. So we have expertise in different areas, which help us also with education project. And there is a ad hoc group of experts under this Working Party 6, which called Started Group, and is dealing with education issues. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about our project. First of all, we have such instrument as recommendations to governments or what to do in the area of standards. And one of the first recommendations done by this group, which was done already in 1970, they suggest to include standards issues in the curricula of engineering professions in universities. And in 2012, we have an international workshop, which was attended by more than 80 delegates from 20 countries and from 10 international organizations. And during this workshop, we agreed that it would be useful just now to promote awareness of standards through universities. And that's why in this in 2012, the recommendation I was amended. And now it suggests also to include standards in the curricula of non-engineering professions like lawyers, business managers, and economists. Because what we found out from our survey of what's going on in Europe, that very few universities provide any information on standards. And even for engineers, this information is primarily concentrated on the standards at the enterprise level, but not international level. So very often engineers, as it was showed already in other presentations, have no clue how these international standards, why international standards are important and what implications they could have for their state academics to introduce these issues into their programs. Of 15 models of 90 minutes each. And the idea was to put into this program what we would like students to know about standards. So if you're a professor and you would like to introduce this subject, you could take this program and there all questions are there. So you know what to ask your students. And plus to it, we prepared also a library of self-learning materials and tools. And so if you go on our website, you'll find this information. There's no so. And if you would like to start this new program, you have at least at the beginning all the necessary information. And what I would like to say that also that at the beginning of 90s, there were probably less than a dozen of universities which were teaching these standards to students. So now during these years, it's increased at least I think to 2 dozen more universities started teaching standards. So we believe it's sort of a good progress, but of course we need cooperation with standards bodies, with universities, just now to promote this idea. And just to give you an idea that we're talking about dozens of universities in Europe, but like in China, there are more than 100 which are teaching standards. And in South Korea, there are several dozens of them just now. So I think we're still sort of far behind countries which are good leaders in teaching standards. Next slide, please. So de facto, all of our speakers who are speaking just now, we have like two issues right now. Is the question: do we need to teach standards? And then, if you agree that we need to teach, then what we should teach just now? So, and I think in this context, it will be very interesting just now to exchange information about currently used education programs to see what issues are there, what issues are not there, just know why they are not there or why they are there. And for example, at the beginning of November, there was a webinar of a group on education, and we discussed future projects, and there were suggestions, for example, to prepare a model program on environmental issues. So if anyone in this interested is to join us, just now we are welcome, just now open to all experts to joining our activities, or we could also join your activities. So maybe it's something could be discussed like a follow-up as this meeting. Thank you for your attention just now, and I hope we'll be in contact and in cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergius. Thank you very much for the presentation and within the time allocated. Thank you very much. I would like to start with you. One is my question. The other one is what I saw on the chart. Do you think it's important to develop standardization in education strategy at national or regional level? Do you think it would be one of the recommendation?
I think it will be good, but I think what is required also, there was mentioned already a couple of times here just now, that this strategy will require support from policymakers to be implemented. And I was sure that policymakers always understand why standards are important just now. So because so I think yes, but if we have sort of enough support from stakeholders, I think it's very important to involve stakeholders in such projects. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Maybe the other presentation, the other question I got. Can you hear me, Sergi?
Yeah, just I didn't get the last question.
Yeah. Yeah, the last question is on is there support or sponsorship for young professionals who would like to pursue the study on standards?
No, as far as I know, there is no.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the
Thank
good
you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. There is another question that I would like to address to Ruben. There are many questions on which institutions ARSO is working with. If someone wants to pursue the curriculum that you have presented, which institutions that ARSO is working with today? Ruben?
Yeah, thank you very much. So far, we have institutions which have shown interest. Particularly in Kenya, we started with the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, same with Zimbabwe. We also know that in South Africa, either UNISA or other institutions are also trying to do the same. We have had quite a challenging time in convincing universities to take up the curriculum, but there is interest, growing interest from the universities that are doing technical courses to adopt the curriculum. So one thing that we have to contend with is that universities have regulatory agencies, and they have to sell this idea to the regulators. So some of them are still doing that, and they're in the process of introducing the curriculum, and we hope that in the next few probably months, they should be able to start offering the courses. So we are looking at universities in Kenya, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, already taking that as a serious issue. And we expect more to take up the issues to introduce the courses. So as it is, they have to get resources. The curriculum outlines the kind of course units that they need to have and the kind of staff they need to have so that they are able to run the courses. So to actually mobilize the people around it and to get the resources around it takes a bit of time, but they will get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ruben. There is another question I would like to ask Shane, Shane from South Korea to reply to. This question is asking, we normally share the content of the standard, the information contained in the standard. But what I would like to ask you, at which extent the standard education program you have in South Africa are helping the manufacturers? At which extent?
Actually, the sound was stopped. So could you ask me one more, please?
Yes, at which extent the program you have at a university level, secondary level, are helping the manufacturers, not just limiting or not just sharing information. Do you see that your program are helping the manufacturers?
Yes, I think so. But actually, I haven't thought about that. But I'm not sure about that. But there would be many fields to use the standardization, like conformity assessment or certification and accreditation. So in the university course, if we provide any course for the standardization, that will be used in that other fields which is using the standards. I'm not sure about that, but
Thank you. Maybe I can ask also Maria Giverage from ASTM. Maria, at which extent your program are helping the manufacturers? If probably you can also talk to the support, the sponsorship to the youth who are looking to pursue the education on standard matters. Maria, are you with us?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Mujin, for the question. I wasn't quite aware that I would be asked to answer the question. However, it is a pertinent question, particularly the question on the manufacturing. I do know that we do have, and this is something that I would like to share with everybody. We do have several committees, particularly in the manufacturing. And for that, I'll invite everybody to visit our website, astm.org. There are different committees, as you're aware. We focus on several industries, from airspace, fuel, and, over 90 industries that we focus at. And we do have a lot of resources, both technical and academic, as Travis mentioned. So I think the first step is to become a member of ASTM, and then from there, benefit from all the resources available to members. I don't know if I responded to your question, but that's...
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Actually, the reason you came in, I saw Travis had another program to do. Yeah, that's the reason I wanted you to come in on behalf of ASTM. You can probably type in the chat the website to access your website and see different program. Joel, there are some questions, but one of the key questions I saw in the chat, at which extent the essay competition are responding to practical issues of our continent. I know you highlighted the choice of the topics, but do you have experience in Uganda at which extent practically the essay competition are responding to matters of the country?
Thank you, Secretary General. I believe the contribution of the essay competition is actually responding to a number of issues regarding the knowledge in standardizations from, of course, our students and youth, leave alone them, the competition itself, introducing them to what is standards actually, and then having the understanding that the standards could actually address issues. Now we're talking about issues to do with social and economic problems, issues to do with displacement, issues to do with the meeting of the SDGs, and what is the relationship. So when you look at all these issues, Uganda is one of the country hosting a number of I think about 1.4 plus displaced persons in the refugees camps. And unless we apply the requirement of standards in managing these populations who are congested in a specific area, and to be able to supply utilities that are good for them and safe for them. These are the issues we are talking about when we talk about standards and how they can actually answer social problems in the country. Corruption is an issue in the world today, and standards have been developed to answer this challenge. And this is not only in Uganda, and the government are starting to put in policies in line with that standard to enable curb the issues of corruption. So Secretary General, very much so, I will say that the competition and specific aspects of standardization is actually answering the issues in the general public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I release you, Joel, among your recommendation, what is one recommendation we should go with while we are now closing our webinar?
Among the recommendations,
or a new one, or you can even come up with a new one.
well, if given opportunity to, I think I gave about 4 or 5 recommendations, but I think you could start with establishing a database for the candidates. I'm beaten between 2. I think recognitions of all those submitted at the continental level would be very important. If you give them a certificate, I think they will attract more people to this knowledge.
Thank you very much. Shadi.
Secretary General.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, probably it's coming later. Our winner this year.
I will give you the 1 minute to the winner.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I want him to close. I think I want is with you or is outside?
No, he's joined. He's not with me, but I think she's
okay,
on.
I will give that 1 minute. That's why I want us to move forward and have that 1 minute.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shadi, what is your recommendation? One takeaway recommendation.
My recommendation is to have a framework starting from ARSO with the NSBs on how to contact the universities and ministries of education to have at least a 1-day seminar in each university or each faculty to raise the knowledge about the standardization process and the importance of standards. I think this is the beginning for having a uniform and unified program for Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Sergey, with your big experience in this matter, what would be the takeaway?
You're talking about recommendation, yeah?
Yes, one recommendation takeaway. Yeah,
I think from our experience, it will be useful to establish a regional network of academics who are willing to work on standards issues now, and try maybe start to work through them at the beginning now. And then maybe link this network with networks with other regions. As, for example, we are ready to also to work with you on this issue.
Thank you very much. Actually, there are some key professors who are following on the chat who even asked that collaboration, and we are very much in touch. I think we'll move forward, actually contact UNEC through you, Sergey. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks
if I ask Shin, what would be Shin? Shin, what would be your takeaway recommendation?
Hello. Actually, I don't have.
Yeah.
I don't have a special recommendation for this one, but I think this is a great webinar for the promote the standardization education. So, and just thank for giving this chance to join this webinar. That's all.
Thank you very much. Ruben Gisore, what would be the takeaway recommendation?
Yeah, thank you. I think from my side, I would say that the time for Africa to really engage in educating people about standardization is now. And much as it's overdue, we need to start working on it right now so that we stop being a continent where expertise that we could easily create among ourselves is usually imported into the continent or procured from outside the continent. Yet we do this, we have the people, and all that we need is to have a network of educators who are willing to create the expertise among ourselves. So we need that collaboration among the professionals, the academia, to create the knowledge base for standardization in the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruben, for your presentation. Now is the time that I would like to give to our winner 1 minute to address us. But I also saw Frederick Chama in this meeting. I don't know if Sherry Niwaruta is still there because he joined the area, but I think he left. Let me start with you, Chama. What is your takeaway as the second winner of the essay competition, if you can hear us? Let's see, Chama.
There's also Marvin.
Chama, you can unmute now yourself. I have allowed you to unmute. Yeah, can you unmute and talk? Yes, Chama, what would be your takeaway? In 1 minute, please. Sharp, like a young generation standardizer. Frederick? Chama? Chama, I think, is not managing. Yeah. Now, Joel.
Yes, SG.
Yeah, we can go with our winner, Golda Desiree.
SG, there is also Marvin, one of the second position.
He is also with us?
Yes, I saw him.
Yeah, if Subuga is there, let's start with Subuga. Subuga, can you address us in 1 minute, please?
Now, what would be?
I cannot see Stephen Tubuka. I can only see Golda.
Okay,
Yeah,
probably.
Golda is not there. Let's go to Golda. Golda.
Yes, please.
Yes, can you address us? What is your take on essay competition and this webinar?
Yeah, thank you so much. And my take is that if we could increase awareness in local languages and also introduce course units or subjects on standardization, it could help us cover a bigger portion of the communities and educate them about standardization at an early age.
Thank you. Thank you very much. To be precise, we will task the UNBS to have those standard in Uganda, Kinyankole, Ruchiga, Toro, and other languages, but also on the other continent and elsewhere. I think local language content is very, very important. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
Be the first winner for the essay competition, the 7th essay competition. I would like to take this opportunity and thank all our participants who have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I was saying I would like to thank all our participants who have been with us for almost 2 hours. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you to our panelists from South Korea, USA, from Geneva, from Egypt, and from Kenya and Uganda. Thank you very much for your good presentation. We look forward to the implementation of your recommendation. If I don't see you very soon, I would like to wish you Happy New Year. And for those who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. And if you can, just one last request. Those who are still with us, can you put on your camera? Then we take a screenshot together with the panelists and the participant. Can you put on your good smile, your good smile of 2020? Yeah.
Dr. Nujin, I'm not able to put the camera on.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. We will just be happy with your name. Yeah. Those who can put on the camera can put on the camera. Thank you very much. I think we count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And Dan, have you taken the screenshot? Yeah, we are still having the camera coming on. Let's have another few seconds. Yeah, wait.
Thank you very much. I think I can say I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a lovely evening or a lovely day. Yeah, for those in America, and good night for those in South Korea. Thank you very much. Bye. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.